Have you ever found yourself stuck? Dreams paused, passion dwindling, and life's biggest goals collecting dust on the shelf. What if there was a proven blueprint drawn from ancient wisdom yet tailored perfectly for our modern struggles that could reignite your drive, crush procrastination and help you seize control of your destiny? In today's video, we'll dive into 7 life-changing Stoic lessons that aren't just theoretical. They're practical tools you can start using immediately to transform setbacks into comebacks and clutter into clarity. Curious how an age-old philosophy can deliver fresh breakthroughs in your personal and professional life. Stay until the end because the last insight is the most powerful. And if you find value in uplifting, thought-provoking content, hit that subscribe button right now. Join our growing community dedicated to personal growth, lasting happiness, and real-life solutions to everyday challenges. Let's jump in. Your best life is waiting. Life often feels like a vast stage where we step forward to play our roles, deliver our lines, and eventually exit. Within that grand theater, the truth remains that our actions, what we do, rather than merely what we intend, ultimately define our character and shape how others perceive us. This perspective echoes an idea attributed to the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius, who consistently reminded himself and others that talk is cheap when it stands alone and that genuine expression of one's values emerges through behavior. Yet every human being knows too well the struggle of translating ideals into consistent action. We might feel inspired when we first set a goal, whether it's to improve our health, cultivate a meaningful relationship, or excel in a creative project. But as days turn into weeks, that initial spark of motivation can fade. Our emotional fire, which once burned brightly, might flicker until it almost goes out, leaving us wondering how to reignite the urge to keep going. At such moments, Stoicism offers an invaluable framework to help us overcome apathy, self-doubt, and inaction. Rooted in ancient philosophy, yet undeniably relevant today, Stoicism challenges us to connect with a stable driving force that transcends fleeting emotions. Where modern self-improvement approaches often rely on a continuous supply of external inspiration, Stoicism invites us to establish an internal resilience that can withstand challenges and setbacks. As the Stoic thinker Seneca famously wrote, "Plans fail because they have no aim," emphasizing that without clarity of purpose, even favorable conditions may not lead us where we need to go. This line underscores that although life can be unpredictable, failing to define a personal harbor can be even more detrimental than encountering storms along the way. Determining what you truly want to work toward and why becomes the foundation upon which your actions rest. In these next sections, we will explore 7 Stoic lessons meant to encourage a more vigorous, action-focused life. While these teachings arose in a historical context, full of political intrigue and social upheaval, think of emperors like Marcus Aurelius, statesmen like Seneca, and freedmen turned philosophers like Epictetus, the core message remains relevant. Their philosophical guidance challenges us to face our own fears, distractions, and comforts so that we can live more consciously. The Stoics recognize that despite external circumstances, war, famine, political turmoil, or personal misfortune, the individual retains an inner power to choose how to respond. It is from tapping into this inner reservoir of strength that human beings elevate themselves beyond the whims of fate. So as we consider how these insights may apply to your unique life circumstances, reflect upon your own struggles with motivation, your occasional lapses into procrastination, and the hidden or overt challenges you've faced. Each of the 7 lessons we'll discuss is intricately woven into the Stoic worldview, and each can serve as a stepping stone toward greater personal responsibility and fulfillment. In practicing them, you'll not only push yourself to take more decisive action, but you may also find a renewed sense of purpose and unwavering resolve that keeps your passion alive even when the emotional flames start to dim. Let us dive in and see how Stoicism can deliver the clarity and discipline we need to realize our highest ambitions. When confronted with any significant challenge, Stoics will often encourage us to look not at the problem first, but at ourselves, specifically at our capacity for self-discipline. Ancient Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca recognize that lack of self-control can be the single greatest barrier to achievement. While many of us are quick to blame external factors, an unkind boss, an unstable economy, or just bad luck for our failures, the Stoics maintain that the most pivotal determinant of our success is how we govern our own minds and impulses. Self-discipline involves resisting the pull of fleeting desires and base instincts in favor of one's deeper values and goals. It's a deliberate, often challenging practice, yet it lies at the very core of what Stoics consider genuine freedom. Marcus Aurelius famously kept a personal diary, later published as Meditations, in which he reminded himself daily of the impermanence of life and the importance of living in alignment with virtue. From his point of view, discipline was not a heavy chain, but rather a set of wings that give you the ability to soar above the fluctuations of mood and external circumstance. In other words, by consistently practicing self-control, you're not confining yourself. Instead, you're liberating your potential. This is why the Stoics believed that mastering one's own impulses is central to mastering any external situation. If your mind remains chaotic, easily swayed by temptation or fear, you'll be at the mercy of every passing event. Equally important is the recognition that discipline isn't limited to major life events. On the contrary, it's trained and honed in everyday situations. Epictetus, once a slave before he became a teacher of Stoic philosophy, famously taught that real progress is made through the daily repetition of correct actions, small, sometimes seemingly insignificant habits that accumulate into profound inner strength. You might decide to wake up an hour earlier each day for quiet reflections, choose to say no to the sugary snack in favor of a healthier meal, or commit to a short session of meditation to center yourself. Each of these small decisions strengthens your capacity for discipline. Over time, they become part of your habitual response to life, making you less prone to be carried away by cravings or discouragement. We might think of discipline as an act of willpower, but Seneca, the Roman philosopher, offered an expanded definition that ties discipline to resilience. If you never face any difficulty or never resist any impulse, you remain soft and unprepared for the inevitable hardships of life. Think of life's adversities as a series of tests that refine your strength. By viewing obstacles in this way, discipline becomes not just a matter of self-denial, but a proactive tool for growth. Consistently choosing to react ethically and wisely in small contexts paves the way for responding effectively when bigger trials emerge. A disciplined individual fosters adaptability and calm perseverance, qualities that remain invaluable. Whether you're aiming to advance your career, manage personal relationships, or simply attain a greater sense of peace. Rather than restricting us, self-discipline opens doors to richer opportunities, helping us achieve a sense of focus that makes every step forward more purposeful. Cultivating disciplines in Stoicism goes beyond a single directive, be disciplined, and evolves into a lifestyle. Each day, you have a chance to reinforce self-control and take yet another step in refining your character. The Stoics recognized the importance of repeatedly choosing virtue until it becomes second nature. By approaching discipline in manageable, concrete steps, you shift it from an intimidating concept into something you tangibly practice. This could be as simple as a morning ritual. Some Stoics, both ancient and modern practitioners, start their day with a brief moment of reflection, envisioning the challenges that might appear in the hours ahead, mentally preparing for how to respond. Marcus Aurelius used his morning meditation to remind himself that people he would encounter might be dishonest, selfish, or ignorant. Yet his goal was not to be disheartened, but to maintain his own integrity despite external negativity. Self-awareness forms the underpinning of all such exercises. Stoics encourage us to scrutinize our emotions, especially anger, fear, and fleeting desires, and to differentiate those that are beneficial from those that may distract or harm us. A daily journaling habit can serve as a powerful means of building this self-awareness. By writing down your emotional states, your responses to various events, and your subsequent reflections, you map out patterns of behavior. Over time, these journals become proof of your progress, or an indication that you might need to adjust your approach if you find yourself repeatedly succumbing to the same distractions. Moreover, the Stoics suggest we remain cognizant of what is in our control and what is not. Epictetus famously stated that our chief task is to discern what belongs to us and what does not. When you deeply understand that your thoughts, choices, and actions are within your sphere of influence, while random occurrences and the behavior of others are not, you become more strategic about where you direct your energy. The practice of self-discipline thus involves refusing to waste emotional or mental resources on aspects you cannot alter. Instead, your discipline is channeled into honing the faculties you do manage: your mindset, your ability to learn, and your conscientious efforts. To build resilience in the face of discomfort, Stoics advocate small acts of voluntary hardship, often referred to in modern Stoic circles as negative visualization or voluntary discomfort. This may look like taking a cold shower, performing a difficult workout, or even practicing temporary fasting. Seneca considered these actions a way of training oneself to handle life's inevitable difficulties with greater composure. Indeed, if you have regularly chosen some healthy discomfort, like skipping a meal or enduring the cold water with resolve, you're less likely to crumble when genuine hardship arrives unexpectedly. These small, controlled exposures to adversity build an internal muscle that helps you remain level-headed under pressure. Step by step, your repeated practice of self-discipline will accumulate into something much greater than just an act of momentary willpower. It becomes a stable foundation that fosters confidence, clarity, and a sense of readiness for life's twists and turns. You evolve into a person for whom disciplined action is the default, not the exception, and in that consistent posture, you discover an elevated sense of freedom and possibility. Procrastination and laziness may appear in innocuous forms. A task delayed, yet another day; a dream perpetually postponed, or a decision left in limbo for fear of the effort required. However, from a Stoic perspective, these are more than mere time wasters. They represent a deeper compromise with mediocrity and an erosion of our potential. The Stoics see human beings as endowed with reason and the capacity to shape their destinies through the choices they make, moment to moment. Indulging in habitual procrastination, therefore, runs contrary to our higher nature. It also signals a form of resigned acceptance of inaction, of a growth undermining self-trust. If you consistently break promises to yourself by putting off important tasks, your inner confidence weakens. You come to doubt your own capacity to stick to a plan, leading to a downward spiral of reduced motivation. Marcus Aurelius reminds us in Meditations that death doesn't wait, hinting that every day wasted is a day we can never reclaim. Seneca was particularly adamant about how fleeting time is and how humans fail to guard it as carefully as they do their money or possessions. By the time we recognize the preciousness of time, we might have let countless hours slip through our fingers in moments of idleness. The Stoic solution to this predicament is neither frantic busyness nor constant self-chastisement, but a thoughtful re-evaluation of our priorities and consistent action toward them. Tackling procrastination starts with honest self-assessment. Ask yourself why you delay certain tasks. Is it fear of failure? Is it the allure of comfort? Or perhaps you're overwhelmed by the magnitude of what needs to be done. The Stoic approach suggests transforming large, daunting tasks into smaller, manageable steps. A theme we'll explore more in subsequent lessons. By breaking a project into its component parts, you weaken the psychological barrier of feeling overmatched. Each small accomplishment then serves as a source of momentum, building your confidence and signaling that action is not only possible, but rewarding. Overcoming laziness, on the other hand, is often about reconnecting with a deeper sense of purpose. If your daily activities lack meaning, you're more likely to lapse into inaction. Here, too, Stoicism helps guide us by urging us to define or rediscover our core values and align our tasks with them. When your actions consistently resonate with what you truly care about, such as personal growth, contributing to society, or upholding your integrity, lethargy finds fewer footholds. The very knowledge that you're acting in service of a meaningful goal can reinvigorate a tired mind. By consciously preventing procrastination and laziness from gaining ground, you affirm a Stoic idea that each day presents a new opportunity to shape your character. Rather than letting hours and days drift by, you become an active participant in your own life narrative. Embracing consistent action further cements the Stoic belief that life's ephemeral nature should inspire urgency, not despair. Every task brought to completion, every goal taken off the back burner is a testament to the power of your will to override the inertia of postponement. Thus, each day you choose to act becomes a quiet but profound victory over stagnation. Stoics often underscore that virtue is not a sporadic or isolated event, but rather a sustained practice woven into daily life. Habits, in this regard, are the vehicles by which we incorporate virtue into our behaviors over time. The old saying, "we are what we repeatedly do," might as well be a Stoic motto because it captures precisely how the Stoics believed character is shaped. Where many individuals struggle with change, perhaps adopting a new diet, a fitness plan, or a resolution to spend more quality time with family, the Stoic framework suggests that the real transformation occurs when virtuous actions become so regular they feel virtually second nature. Cultivating good habits starts with identifying which virtues or values matter most to you. The four classical Stoic and broadly ancient virtues include wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. But you might have additional guiding principles unique to your circumstances. For instance, if you hold kindness or generosity in high esteem, you can focus on building daily behaviors around these traits. This clarity ensures that the habits you form are in direct alignment with who you aim to become. From that clarity, it becomes simpler to identify the small, consistent steps that gradually mold your character. For example, if you value kindness, a specific habit could be to always greet co-workers with genuine warmth and a friendly question about their well-being. Repeated many times, this fosters an outlook of empathy and concern for others. The power of consistency cannot be overstated. A single act of generosity or discipline might be commendable, but it doesn't necessarily define who you are. We often see this illustrated in workplaces or in personal relationships, where someone might have a moment of exemplary behavior, but fails to maintain it when circumstances change. Stoicism suggests that we truly embody a virtue only when it becomes the default mode of operation, not just an occasional display. By consciously structuring your day, laying out times for reflection, reading, journaling, or even practicing minimal acts of self-denial, you create a living environment in which growth is continually nurtured. Seneca cautioned that time is our most precious resource, and nowhere is this more evident than in our daily routines. Each day that passes without reinforcing your chosen good habits can feel like a missed opportunity. Conversely, each day that you persist in small positive actions builds upon the previous gains. Over weeks, months, and years, these accumulations shape a robust inner life. You begin to see that good habits are not restrictive, but empowering. By having structured ways to act, you free yourself from the tyranny of indecision. Your mind is liberated to focus on deeper questions, larger projects, or creative pursuits because you've cultivated a healthy baseline of constructive, habitual behaviors. What about setbacks or relapses? Stoics remind us that perfection is not expected. It's a direction, not a final destination. Slip-ups and failures will undoubtedly occur. However, when your life is oriented around positive habits, each mistake becomes a quick detour rather than a permanent derailment. The established routine helps you get back on track, rapidly fostering resilience. Over time, repeated good habits form a sturdy bridge between your ideals and your daily reality, closing the gap between who you are and who you strive to be. In this way, Stoic philosophy provides not just an abstract theory of virtue, but a practical roadmap for turning that theory into your lived experience. Life brims with unforeseen obstacles, layoffs, broken relationships, disappointments, unexpected health crises, and more. For many, these disruptions can feel like insurmountable hurdles that sap motivation and hope. Yet for the Stoics particularly, Epictetus, who was born into slavery, adversity is not something to be feared, but rather something that can hone us like a blade on a whetstone. The fundamental question Stoicism poses is, how will you interpret these hardships and then act upon that interpretation? Epictetus taught that external constraints do not necessarily confine the mind unless we allow them to. His own life provided a powerful testament to this principle. Although born a slave and subject to another's control, he discovered within himself a mental and spiritual freedom that no master could dominate. Epictetus argued that within every challenging situation lies a teaching tool. Whether the lesson revolves around patience, resilience, humility, or empathy, the friction of hardship reveals aspects of ourselves we might never have noticed in comfort. Like a hidden muscle that must be put under stress to grow, our strengths and virtues often need adverse conditions to fully manifest. In embracing adversity, we also align with the Stoic idea of focusing on what is within our control. Challenges, by their very nature, frequently involve elements we cannot change: a sudden financial crisis, an unwelcome diagnosis, or the decisions made by others. Epictetus and the Stoics advise us not to lose ourselves in frustration over these unalterable elements. Instead, we should direct our energy toward what we can influence: our mindset, the choices we make in response, and the manner in which we handle our emotions. By deliberately observing our thoughts and feelings, we can convert the energy of adversity into constructive action. The potential ripple effect of this perspective is profound. When you regard a setback as an instructive experience rather than a personal disaster, you become less prone to despair and more open to solutions. Moreover, your resilience can serve as an example to those around you, encouraging them to also look for growth within difficulty. Stoicism thus extends beyond mere individual fortitude. It can enhance community well-being. If one person's steadiness under pressure inspires others to meet challenges head-on, a network of resilience emerges benefiting everyone. Finally, reframing challenges as opportunities also creates a sense of proactive control. Instead of waiting for luck or complaining about unfair circumstances, you learn to spot the lesson or hidden advantage in every mishap. You may discover a new skill, cultivate empathy, or become more patient. Over time, life's difficulties transform from random misfortunes to meaningful experiences. While Stoics do not imply that adversity is always pleasant or easy, they do insist that it is a crucible within which our best qualities can be developed, tested, and ultimately demonstrated. This alchemy turning struggle into wisdom sits at the heart of Stoic motivation. Once understood, it changes the way we perceive every obstacle, giving us the impetus to move forward with courage and a sense of possibility. As we delve further into how Stoics transform setbacks into stepping stones, it's crucial to note that these philosophers do not advocate plunging recklessly into every possible difficulty simply for the sake of suffering. Rather, they advise us to remain vigilant in the face of adversity, observing it, gleaning lessons from it, and retaining the resolve to move beyond it. A nuanced part of this process involves recognizing that if a problem appears too immense, or if your motivation has dwindled to nearly nothing, sometimes the best path forward is to start exceptionally small. By doing so, you can systematically build momentum, even if you felt stagnant for a long time. This perspective perfectly complements the Stoic emphasis on self-discipline and clarity of purpose. If you hold on to the idea that every challenge is a potential lesson, then every lesson offers a chance to apply new knowledge. When problems arise, losing a job, facing public criticism, or enduring a failed relationship, you can break them down into smaller, more approachable tasks. For instance, if unemployment suddenly throws your life into chaos, the challenge into opportunity. Mindset means acknowledging that while losing a steady paycheck is daunting, it's also a moment to reevaluate your career path. A small but significant first step might be to update your resume or spend an hour a day on new skill development. Each minor action, repeated consistently, can reshape your outlook from helplessness to empowerment. Notably, the Stoics also saw the synergy between harnessing adversity and making progress in incremental steps. Think of Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, who started his intellectual quest by stumbling into a bookstore and reading about Socrates. That seemingly trivial moment became the seed for an entire philosophical system that would influence centuries of thought. This idea resonates deeply in modern times as well, where small, consistent gestures or tasks can spiral into significant achievements provided they're done with intentionality. A person who wants to write a novel, for example, but has been intimidated by the scale of the project might decide simply to write 200 words per day. Those words might not seem like much in isolation, but over a year they accumulate into a substantial manuscript. Similarly, for those struggling with the negativity of past failures, a beneficial Stoic approach could be something as simple as daily reflection in a journal, where you identify one small lesson or improvement gleaned from each setback. Emphasizing these bite-sized reflections fosters a shift from ruminating on what went wrong to constructing building blocks for what can go right. Over time, the mind is reoriented to perceive each challenge as an occasion for problem-solving rather than a sign of defeat. By integrating the ideas of turning problems into opportunities and using incremental steps to tackle them, we get a potent antidote to the inertia that so often paralyzes us. We see that adversity, though painful, is not final, and that small, intentional actions can override even deep-seated passivity. This synergy breathes life into your Stoic practice, ensuring that philosophy is not confined to abstract debates, but manifested as forward progress in everyday life. As we move into the next lesson, we'll consider the role of purpose in fueling such resilience. Because without a meaningful why, even the smallest how can feel burdensome. But armed with clarity of intention, the small steps become testaments to our determination, bridging the gap between potential and actual accomplishment. Beginning with small steps is far more than just a practical strategy for navigating large or intimidating goals. It also embodies a fundamental Stoic principle concerning human nature. We often procrastinate or become overwhelmed precisely because we envision the entire scope of the challenge, where we want to be, what success looks like, and how far we are from that end point. Stoicism advocates countering this tendency by dividing lofty objectives into manageable fragments. Although modern motivational gurus echo this advice, the Stoics grounded it in their recognition of human psychological limits. They understood that the human mind, while capable of remarkable feats, can also be deterred by the enormity of a challenge. Consider once more the story of Zeno of Citium stepping into a bookstore after experiencing personal misfortunes. He didn't map out an entire school of philosophy from day one. He started by immersing himself in Socratic dialogue and absorbing the teachings that would later shape his own system. From the vantage point of history, Zeno's bookstore visit might look almost mundane, yet it was a single step on a path that would span decades. If he had insisted on having the entire Stoic framework fully articulated before he began to share or refine his thinking, he might have remained idle, paralyzed by uncertainty. Instead, he took that crucial first step, trusting that additional actions, insights, and experiences would follow. When translated into everyday life, this principle encourages us not to wait for total clarity or perfect conditions. If you want to adopt a healthier lifestyle, begin by changing your morning routine, maybe just commit to a brisk walk or a more nutritious breakfast. If your ambition is to learn a new language, schedule a mere 15 minutes a day to study vocabulary. The emphasis lies on consistent small steps, as these gradually rewire your habits and reduce the mental friction associated with drastic change. Over time, these small advances become a snowball, rolling downhill, picking up more momentum. Not only do they build your skill or improve your situation, but they also bolster your self-confidence. Marcus Aurelius would likely remind us that time is our ally, if used wisely. Life is not about short bursts of intensity, but about steadiness of effort, showing up daily, inching forward, even when motivation wanes. In addition, these incremental steps often serve as tests of your commitment. If you find even small steps intolerably challenging, it might be a cue to reconsider whether your goal aligns with your deeper values. Alternatively, it might signal that you need to break the goal down even further. This iterative process helps clarify both your ambition and your capacity to pursue it. Moreover, starting with small steps can help dispel the perfectionism that often keeps us stuck. By acknowledging that our initial attempts may be messy, incomplete, or less than ideal, we free ourselves from the pressure to perform flawlessly at the outset. The Stoics acknowledge that progress, not perfection, is what matters, as every new day offers renewed opportunities to refine our efforts. Ultimately, by consistently taking action in small increments, you are living out one of Stoicism's core messages that real transformation, whether in virtue or in any area of skill, emerges from daily, deliberate engagement with the tasks at hand. A central tenet of Stoic philosophy is that life's truest meaning emerges when we root ourselves in virtue. Modern readers might stumble over that word virtue can sound antiquated or moralistic. Yet the Stoics use the term in a broader, more encompassing sense. Virtue, in their view, is the highest expression of human excellence, encompassing wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. These four cardinal virtues serve as a moral compass guiding how we think, behave, and respond to the world's unpredictable nature. By basing our sense of purpose on these qualities, we give ourselves a reliable framework that transcends fleeting emotions, social pressures, and material gains. Cato the Younger exemplified this commitment. An influential Roman statesman known for his unwavering integrity, Cato stood as a figure who valued principle above expediency. In tumultuous political times where alliances were often dictated by personal ambition, Cato chose to remain firm on what he considered just and honorable. His decisions were not always popular or politically safe. They sometimes brought him into conflict with powerful figures like Julius Caesar. But the consistency of his conduct illustrated to his contemporaries and to history how unyielding virtue can serve as a lodestar. Through Cato, we witness a life of purpose that doesn't pivot with every shift in public opinion, but remains steady in its dedication to moral clarity. For those of us not ensnared in the political machinations of ancient Rome, living with purpose might instead focus on daily ethical choices. Suppose you find yourself in a job that pays well but contradicts your ethical compass, or in a relationship that violates your personal values. The Stoics would counsel you to reflect deeply on these misalignments because acting against your moral nature erodes self-respect, fosters internal conflict, and ultimately compromises your well-being. By contrast, aligning your life with virtue fosters a sense of wholeness and understanding that what you do and who you are remain in harmony, thereby fueling a more profound sense of motivation. Purpose, guided by virtue, also has a unique resilience. If your primary aim is wealth or social status, a market crash or a fall from favor can leave you devastated. However, if your goal is to embody honesty, courage, and fairness, external circumstances, while challenging, cannot entirely strip away your sense of self-worth. This is because your identity no longer hinges solely on factors beyond your control. Instead, it is founded upon your personal commitment to moral standards. This orientation naturally spurs action. Rather than waiting for the ideal situation or focusing on ephemeral rewards, you act because it is the right thing to do, which in Stoic terms also means it is the rational and most natural thing to do. Thus, developing your purpose through virtue means steadily cultivating your best self, while making daily decisions that mirror those core values. The clarity that arises from this alignment dissolves procrastination, combats self-doubt, and inspires consistent effort. It offers a wellspring of motivation that does not deplete as easily as emotional enthusiasm. Instead of chasing endless desires that may leave you empty, you ground yourself in something deeper. The personal conviction that each day is an opportunity to progress in wisdom, uphold justice, exercise courage, and practice moderation. To translate the broad Stoic exhortation, live in accordance with virtue, into something tangible, it helps to break down how each of the four main virtues can be integrated into daily living. Wisdom, for instance, compels you to continually seek truth, remain open to learning, and properly assess situations before taking action. In a practical sense, this could manifest as reading widely, listening attentively to differing viewpoints, or regularly evaluating the pros and cons of significant decisions. Rather than jumping to conclusions, you develop the patience and intellectual humility to gather facts and assess them carefully. Courage, on the other hand, addresses how you respond to both fear and risk. It can be as grand as taking a stand against injustice, or as subtle as speaking up in a meeting when you see a colleague being mistreated. Courage also appears when you refuse to back down from personal growth opportunities, even if they require leaving your comfort zone. Stoics like Seneca recognize that real bravery is often found in the repeated choice to do the right thing, even if it's unpopular or scary. Justice revolves around fairness and equity, extending beyond strict legal definitions into how you treat people on a daily basis. Are you giving others their due respect? Are you ensuring that your actions contribute positively to your community? Embracing justice could mean reevaluating your biases, supporting a friend in need, or choosing not to engage in workplace gossip that could harm another's reputation. Finally, temperance, sometimes called moderation, is about balance and self-restraint. It includes managing cravings, be they for food comfort or validation, so they do not derail you. For a modern individual, this might mean regulating time spent on social media, maintaining healthy spending habits, or controlling impulses that lead to excessive indulgence. When aligned with these virtues, your purpose becomes more than a static mission statement. It is an ongoing commitment to living by these principles. That commitment is what fuels steady action. You're not just trying to achieve a single end goal like a promotion or a new house. You are continuously practicing a way of being. With each choice aligned to virtue, your sense of purpose grows more potent, becoming a guiding force through life's tumult. Moreover, this alignment paves the way to resilience. You no longer rely on external validations such as praise, prestige, or a certain bank balance to feel motivated. These ephemeral benchmarks might still be pleasant to receive, but they no longer define you or dictate your sense of fulfillment. Stoics would argue the true purpose, anchored in virtue, keeps you afloat even when you fail to meet worldly markers of success. After all, failing externally does not negate the bravery, honesty, and wisdom you displayed along the way. These intangible rewards remain intact, forming a durable foundation for your self-esteem. In this manner, cultivating virtue-based purpose exemplifies the Stoic conviction that the most valuable parts of life don't come from chance or external fortune, but from deliberate character formation. And once you internalize this, each passing day turns into a training ground. Your challenges, triumphs, and even your mundane routines all become opportunities to practice the virtues that define your deeper goal. This cohesive framework invigorates every dimension of your life with steady motivation and inner satisfaction. In an age of near-constant stimulation, endless notifications, advertisements urging us to buy more, and societal pressures to do everything faster, simplicity might feel like a distant ideal. Yet, Stoic philosophy has long championed the merits of a simpler, more focused life. Marcus Aurelius, who as a Roman emperor had unparalleled access to luxury and complexity, repeatedly reminded himself of the virtues of minimalism and moderation. He understood that accumulating more possessions, responsibilities, and desires can become a double-edged sword, diverting attention and peace of mind away from what truly matters. For Stoics, simplicity is less about renunciation for its own sake and more about clearing space so that higher pursuits, virtue, meaningful relationships, and personal growth can occupy center stage. One practical way to begin simplifying is to clear out the physical clutter that occupies our environment. This is not a mere aesthetic choice. Many of us have experienced how a clean and orderly space provides a mental lift, making tasks and thoughts feel more manageable. The Stoics didn't elaborate on minimalism in the modern sense, but their emphasis on focusing on what is essential aligns with contemporary advice to discard items that no longer serve a purpose. Even the simple act of decluttering a desk, closet, or digital device can reduce mental friction, reminding us that life can flow more smoothly when our surroundings don't constantly demand our attention. Yet the real target is not just physical clutter, but mental and emotional clutter, those anxieties, resentments, and incessant worries that crowd the mind. Stoic teachings guide us to systematically address this internal baggage by again distinguishing between what we can control and what we cannot. Often, mental clutter arises when we ruminate over things we have little power to change: the opinions of others, the outcome of events long past, or the hypothetical future that may never manifest. By simplifying our mental landscape, reminding ourselves to deal only with what truly lies in our power, we can conserve energy and reduce unnecessary stress. For instance, limiting your exposure to draining social situations or scaling back time spent on social media can have a profound impact on mental well-being. Instead of scattering your attention across countless stimuli, you devote it to those pursuits or connections that genuinely matter. Some modern Stoics practice digital minimalism, intentionally carving out specific times in the day for online activity to avoid the perpetual ping of notifications and the rabbit hole of mindless scrolling. Financial simplicity is another angle the Stoics would likely appreciate. Living within or below your means protects you from the anxiety of looming debt, constant consumerism, or the compulsion to match others' spending habits. Rather than chasing the newest gadget or luxury item for social status, a Stoic approach keeps the focus on sufficiency, having what you need for a healthy, balanced life, without the burden of overextension. Ultimately, Stoic-inspired simplicity is about clarifying your life so that every action and possession is a conscious choice rather than a passive accumulation. It is about recognizing that your bandwidth, mental, emotional, and even financial, is finite. By conserving resources, you free them for more purposeful endeavors. You develop an intentionality that aligns with living by virtue and a readiness to respond more effectively when real challenges arise. In culling the superfluous, you discover both the relief and the empowerment that come from traveling light. A life of simplicity, according to the Stoics, reveals itself not just in what we remove, but also in what we add, mainly clarity and calm. Because when we pare down excessive noise, material wants, and time-wasting pursuits, we create a space in which virtue has room to flourish. This can manifest as deeper and more meaningful relationships, improved focus in our work, or simply a heightened sense of appreciation for life's daily gifts. Seneca, in his letters, often questioned the blind pursuit of luxury, pointing out that such lavishness can dull our gratitude for basic joys, like a peaceful night's sleep or a warm meal. Without an endless chase for more, we become more grounded in the present moment, able to savor it, free from nagging anxiety. Practical measures can further anchor this mindset. Establishing a daily routine is one approach that helps maintain simplicity. For example, you might allocate a specific time for personal reflection, perhaps right after you wake up or before bed. During this period, consider not only your tasks and obligations, but also whether you've allowed unnecessary or trivial matters to creep into your schedule. This regular self-check ensures that your day's activities align with your core priorities. It also frees you from the tyranny of unplanned busyness, which can escalate stress levels and obscure what is genuinely important. Another tactic involves mindful consumption of information. The constant bombardment of news advertisements and social media updates can dilute your attention and spike your stress. By limiting the frequency or duration of your media intake, you foster a mental environment closer to the Stoic ideal, less cluttered and more centered on personal growth, relationships, and purposeful actions. You might, for instance, schedule 2 windows a day to check email or social feeds rather than doing so continuously. This barrier helps you approach digital content more deliberately, parsing what is useful from what simply erodes time. Additionally, money management aligns naturally with a simplified lifestyle, determining what you need for a comfortable existence. Food, shelter, a few meaningful experiences, and pruning excess expenditures not only reduces financial strain, but also promotes mindful resource allocation. This is a direct echo of Stoic warnings against greed and the pursuit of shallow social signals. In a sense, deciding not to chase every fleeting material desire is itself a form of discipline, bridging the gap between your personal ethics and everyday spending habits. In the realm of personal relationships, simplicity can manifest as well. Cultivating a small circle of trusted friends, minimizing drama, and investing emotional energy in sincere, meaningful connections fosters a healthier social environment. Complexity in relationships often arises from miscommunication, unrealistic expectations, or involvement in meaningless gossip. Stoics encourage us to speak plainly, maintain integrity, and remain unattached to the trivial judgments of others. By simplifying how we communicate and how we engage in social bonds, we reinforce the sense of calm that arises when life's clutter is stripped away. Altogether, these strategies underline that simplicity is not about living in deprivation or isolation. Rather, it's an intentional decision to prioritize the essentials virtue, meaningful action, and genuine connection, and discard the rest. Such an environment, both internal and external, better allows the other lessons of Stoicism like discipline, purposeful action, and wise handling of adversity to take root, guiding us toward a balanced and deeply satisfying existence. Having explored all 7 Stoic lessons, self-discipline, overcoming procrastination, forming good habits, reframing challenges, starting small, cultivating virtue as purpose, and embracing simplicity, it becomes clear that none of these teachings exist in isolation. They form a network of principles that build upon one another, creating a holistic approach to life. Discipline enables you to consistently act rather than merely wish for change. Good habits ensure those disciplined choices become second nature. Overcoming procrastination paves the way for you to see challenges not as dead ends, but as opportunities for growth. Being willing to start small means acknowledging that every lofty outcome requires a beginning, a critical step on the journey. Developing purpose through virtue weaves these actions into a coherent moral framework, guiding your choices and lending them deeper significance. Finally, simplifying your life nurtures the mental and physical space necessary for all the other lessons to flourish. In the Stoic worldview, this synergy is more than a series of pragmatic tips. It is a reflection of human nature itself. The ancient philosophers like Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and Seneca each contributed their own perspective, but they collectively saw humankind as rational beings, capable of self-governance. That capacity for reason undergirds everything else. When you adopt discipline, you harness your rational ability to prioritize long-term well-being over short-term gratification. When you push past procrastination, you're using reason to remind yourself that delaying essential tasks only prolongs discomfort and diminishes potential rewards. Habits, as repetitive patterns grounded in rational choice, allow you to live more harmoniously with yourself and those around you. Challenges, of course, remain the test of whether these Stoic concepts have truly taken root. Stoicism is a practice, not a mere theory, something that must be lived and validated through daily experience. If you observe yourself responding to unexpected adversity or temptation with greater composure, or if you notice that small setbacks don't derail your emotional equilibrium, you can take it as evidence that Stoic insights are sinking in. This doesn't mean you'll never feel pain, frustration, or anxiety. Rather, it implies that you'll recognize these emotional experiences for what they are: natural signals, but not ultimate determinants of how you conduct yourself or interpret your life's direction. Crucially, the Stoic path doesn't demand perfection. The likes of Marcus Aurelius were keenly aware of human fallibility both in themselves and others. The goal is progress to be better tomorrow than you were yesterday, to handle difficulties with incrementally more wisdom, to remain steadfast in practicing virtues even as the external environment shifts unpredictably. The reward for such ongoing effort is an existence marked by purpose and tranquility, a state often described by the Stoics as ataraxia, or an untroubled mind. Taken together, these 7 lessons operate like a well-coordinated team, each fulfilling a specific function that enhances the overall potential of the whole. While you can adopt them in any order, their combined power emerges when all are integrated. This synergy helps ensure that your daily actions and perspectives are guided not by random impulses or societal pressures, but by a consistent, principled approach to living. And that is perhaps the greatest gift of Stoicism, a roadmap that leads you from passive drifting to intentional, wholehearted engagement with the unfolding drama of life. One of the most straightforward ways to anchor these 7 lessons in your life is to craft a daily routine that reflects Stoic ideals. This doesn't have to be rigid or inflexible. Instead, think of it as a framework that offers stability amidst the chaos of modern living. For example, you could begin each morning with a brief period of silent reflection or meditation similar to Marcus Aurelius's practice of writing in his journal. During this time, you'd mentally rehearse the challenges you might face that day: an important meeting at work, a potential disagreement with a spouse or friend, or even just the possibility of being stuck in traffic. By anticipating difficulties and visualizing a calm, reasoned response, you essentially preload your mind with Stoic resilience. After that, you might do a small physical routine such as stretching or a short walk to embody discipline and consistent action. This moment also provides an opportunity to reflect on any negative emotions lingering from the previous day and to consciously release them. If you incorporate journaling into your morning or your evening, if that feels more natural, you can track your emotional states. Note any slip-ups regarding procrastination and record times when you successfully turned a challenge into a chance to practice patience or fortitude. Throughout your workday, consider how you can break tasks into more manageable chunks. If you're overwhelmed by a project, apply the principle of beginning with small steps. Commit yourself to making at least incremental progress. This approach is a direct countermeasure to procrastination. By deferring big tasks indefinitely, you build anxiety and hamper your progress. By handling even small portions of these tasks, you sidestep the emotional drain of inaction. Each small victory, no matter how minor, can serve as a dopamine boost, reinforcing the idea that forward motion is both possible and beneficial. When lunchtime arrives, or at any natural break, evaluate how well you've stayed aligned with your virtue-based purpose. Did you approach colleagues with fairness and empathy, reflecting the virtue of justice? Have you demonstrated courage in addressing a difficult issue or standing by a principle you hold dear? It's also wise to remember the lesson of simplicity in these moments. Strive to keep your break area or lunch choice uncluttered, focusing on nourishment rather than novelty or excess. By evening, a Stoic wind-down can help you synthesize the day's experiences. Reflect on how well you maintained discipline or overcame urges toward laziness. If you notice areas where you strayed from your goals, snapping at a colleague or spending too long browsing the internet, be honest but compassionate with yourself. The Stoics never advocated wallowing in guilt. Instead, they prompt us to see errors as insights for improvement. Did you fail to simplify when you should have let go of something trivial? Did you mishandle a challenge because you failed to break it down into actionable steps? Identifying these slip-ups prepares you to handle them better when similar situations arise. Such a rhythm fosters sustained motivation. By checking in with yourself multiple times a day, you continually reorient toward the principles you've pledged to uphold. Over weeks and months, these daily touch points weave Stoic teachings into the fabric of your identity. Rather than living reactively, you begin to perceive a sense of stable direction. This routine becomes your engine generating steady progress, while also buffering you against the emotional vicissitudes that so often derail even the best of intentions. Reflection is the crucible in which Stoic principles are tested, refined, and ultimately internalized. For most practicing Stoics, journaling is the medium that makes self-reflection tangible and systematic. When you write down your thoughts, you engage in a deliberate process of clarifying your internal world, forcing vague notions into the light of consciousness where they can be examined. This is especially helpful in mitigating procrastination or in confronting unproductive emotional states like resentment, envy, or anger. Seneca and Marcus Aurelius left behind written legacies that illustrate the power of journaling. Seneca's letters to Lucilius served as a reflective conversation not only with his friend, but with himself, dissecting ethical dilemmas, personal habits, and perspectives on time. Marcus Aurelius's meditations read like a personal record of his struggle to remain virtuous under the relentless pressure of leading an empire. Time and again, Marcus reminded himself that even an emperor can fall into pettiness or distraction if not vigilantly self-aware. To emulate this, you can structure your journaling in a few ways. One method is to begin by identifying challenges you faced each day, situations that triggered impatience, worry, or anger. Next, question how you reacted. Did you handle the moment with discipline, or did you give in to emotion? If you stumbled, note what a Stoic approach might have been. Perhaps you needed to recall that certain events lie beyond your control, or that empathy toward another person could diffuse tension. This is where you see whether you successfully turned a challenge into an opportunity for growth. You might also use your journal to track your habits, particularly the good ones you're working to instill. If you're practicing negative visualization or voluntary discomfort, like taking cold showers or fasting for a short period, record how you felt before, during, and after these experiences. You'll likely find patterns over time. Consistent effort in these minor trials fosters resilience in major life events. These records become a small compendium of personal data, demonstrating to yourself that repeated actions, especially those centered on virtue, generate long-term benefits. Additionally, journaling is an excellent space to reaffirm your purpose. Write down what virtues you plan to emphasize that day or that week: courage, temperance, justice, or wisdom. Note specific steps you intend to take, such as confronting a fear, directly maintaining composure in a stressful meeting, or being mindful of your consumption habits. Revisiting these intentions in the evening can bolster accountability. If you fell short, you know precisely how and why. If you succeeded, you can celebrate that moment as evidence that progress is real and attainable. A final element to consider in reflection is gratitude. While not exclusively Stoic, gratitude aligns with Stoic aims by redirecting attention from what we lack to what we have. Recognizing small joys like a productive conversation with a friend or a moment of quiet serenity nurtures a mindset of abundance rather than longing. This gratitude can dovetail with the Stoic notion of appreciating the present moment rather than fixating on regrets of the past or hypotheticals of the future. When you combine daily reflection, purposeful journaling habit, tracking, and expressions of gratitude, you forge a practice that consistently engages with the core Stoic lessons. This method keeps you accountable, fosters self-compassion, and continuously aligns your internal dialogue with your higher values. No matter how carefully you plan or how diligently you practice Stoic disciplines, setbacks will occur. Fear of failure, embarrassment, loss often rears its head at these junctures. However, Stoicism frames fear not as an enemy but as a signal. Marcus Aurelius once noted that if something is within our power to change, we should act rather than worry. If it is beyond our control, worrying achieves nothing. This perspective stems from the Stoic distinction between what is up to us, our choices, attitudes, and reactions, and what is not external events, the will of others, or the forces of nature. Recognizing this boundary liberates you from wrestling with phantom problems and directs your energy to actionable realms. When you face an unexpected crisis, say a medical diagnosis that forces you to alter your long-term plans, the immediate emotional response might be alarm. A Stoic lens encourages you to pause and parse which aspects of the situation you can influence. Can you pursue better medical care, adopt a healthier lifestyle, or gather more information? Yes. Can you single-handedly eradicate the condition with sheer will? Likely not. By focusing on the constructive steps, you transform passive fear into purposeful action. Epictetus framed this transformation succinctly. We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. Moreover, the Stoics saw value in anticipating negative outcomes, a technique known as negative visualization. By imagining potential worst-case scenarios, you gradually become less shocked if they do occur. This isn't pessimism for its own sake. It's a strategic move to cultivate emotional preparedness. Seneca advised his readers to practice imagining loss or discomfort temporarily, so that they might discover how their fears often exceed the reality. This mental rehearsal trains you not to be blindsided by misfortune. By momentarily envisioning what you dread, you reduce its grip on your psyche, enabling you to face challenges with clearer cognition. Setbacks can also be approached as learning opportunities. When something goes wrong, it's tempting to blame circumstances or other people. A Stoic approach, however, puts the onus on introspection. Could you have prepared better? Did you misunderstand a situation or overestimate your abilities? Even if external factors played a role, focusing on the piece you might improve ensures you evolve rather than stagnate in self-pity. This approach dovetails neatly with turning challenges into opportunities. Each setback, no matter how painful, can offer at least a sliver of insight into how you can adjust your strategies or refine your moral compass. Finally, you can mitigate fear by leaning on the lesson of simplicity. The more entangled your life is with possessions, prestige, and the demands of others, the more you risk losing. Stripping away these extraneous elements can diminish the burden of what you might fear losing. When your sense of worth doesn't hinge on a job title or a social image, setbacks in those arenas, while still difficult, carry less existential weight. You're anchored in your virtues and core values, which can't be taken away by the external world. In this way, the holistic Stoic approach encompassing discipline, virtue, and clarity remains the bedrock upon which you stand firm even when storms inevitably arise. Each Stoic lesson can stand independently, offering valuable guidance on a particular aspect of personal growth. However, true power emerges when you blend them into an integrated mindset. Think of it this way: discipline alone can make you productive but might not infuse your life with deeper meaning. Purpose and virtue, while inspiring, can remain abstract ideals if not acted upon consistently. Similarly, seeing challenges as opportunities might keep you resilient under pressure, but without good habits and small steps, you risk stagnating once the initial crisis passes. It's in their synergy that these lessons fully come alive. For instance, the act of simplifying your life can free mental and physical resources, which in turn fosters stronger discipline. When you remove countless distractions, be they digital, material, or social, you can direct your willpower more efficiently. Similarly, the purposeful practice of virtue becomes easier when you're not juggling superfluous obligations that dilute your focus. This cyclical reinforcement exemplifies the Stoic notion that virtue is not an isolated characteristic. It harmonizes with other virtues and constructive life choices. Even the relationship between beginning small and addressing procrastination is mutually beneficial. Breaking tasks into bite-sized pieces significantly reduces the mental friction that fuels procrastination. By making incremental progress, you reinforce your discipline through repeated, manageable victories. Over time, these small wins accumulate into robust habits, which become the backbone of your daily routine. Each successful micro-task you complete is a testament to your ability to act, rather than defer. Furthermore, aligning your purpose with virtue ensures that the impetus behind each action is morally sound and in accordance with your highest principles. This eliminates much of the conflict that arises from chasing aims that conflict with one's values. If your core driver is to live ethically and to serve a greater good, many dilemmas about what to do or why to do it simply fall away. You find that in the words of Marcus Aurelius, actions aligned with the common good also best serve your personal development. This orientation infuses you with a sense of tranquility because you're no longer torn between self-interest and collective interest. They fuse into one directional aim, as the betterment of society also elevates you individually. Even turning challenges into opportunities melds seamlessly with a disciplined life. A disciplined person sees adversity as a puzzle to be solved, not an impassable barrier. Combine that with the perspective that adversity can expose areas for improvement, and you become highly adaptable, learning from each trial. This synergy ensures you're continually refining your habits, clarifying your purpose, and simplifying your approach. In the final analysis, each of the Stoic lessons is like a spoke in a wheel, and the wheel doesn't function optimally if one spoke is missing or weakened. Practiced together, they form a sturdy framework that can carry you through life's uneven terrain. These principles, while profound in their own right, gain exponential force when intertwined. The result is a system of living that is both flexible, able to handle sudden change, and firm, rooted in well-considered values. By weaving these lessons into a cohesive tapestry, you elevate the Stoic ethos from a set of guidelines to a deeply ingrained lifestyle, seamlessly guiding your thoughts, decisions, and actions. Often overlooked is how Stoic principles extend beyond self-improvement to improving relationships and shaping how you engage with community. Stoics champion the virtue of justice, a concept that transcends legal frameworks and touches how we treat friends, family, neighbors, and even strangers. It's not enough to be disciplined or purposeful in isolation. Your virtues should manifest in the broader social sphere. This perspective resonates with Marcus Aurelius's repeated reflections on human kinship. He believed that if we share a common, rational nature, we also share a responsibility to treat each other with fairness and compassion. Practical applications of this mindset include everyday acts of empathy and ethical decision-making. In a family context, turning challenges into opportunities might involve approaching conflicts or disagreements as chances to practice patience, self-control, and empathy. Rather than treating an argument with a sibling or partner as a source of resentment, you can see it as a moment to grow emotionally and to deepen mutual understanding. Similarly, if you're a leader or manager at work, your ability to demonstrate courage and justice sets the tone for your team. Stoic resilience helps you face problems calmly, and Stoic ethical considerations guide you toward decisions that uplift rather than exploit. Simplification also plays a role in relationships. Clearing emotional clutter, grudges, pettiness, or the need to constantly be right fosters a cleaner, more honest dynamic with those around you. By distancing yourself from gossip or trivial disputes, you act in a way that reflects respect for your own mental energy and for the dignity of others. People who practice Stoic principles might find that although they sometimes butt against the norms of social drama, they ultimately attract relationships founded on respect and genuine connection. The Stoic notion of community extends beyond immediate circles. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor burdened with the fate of millions, regularly ruminated on how his actions or policies affected the empire. Today, you might not govern a massive civilization, but your choices still have ripple effects, whether it's your environmental footprint, your willingness to help someone in need, or the way you spend your money to either support or reject unethical practices. Stoicism encourages conscientious living, which, when scaled to multiple individuals, can create meaningful change. Some modern Stoics practice volunteerism or community service as a way to manifest their values. They see it not as charity in the condescending sense, but as a direct expression of justice and shared humanity. This is a concrete example of how discipline, virtue, and a sense of purpose come together. One commits the time and effort consistently. Discipline believes in the moral imperative of supporting those less fortunate virtue and finds deeper purpose in working for the collective good. These acts reinforce a Stoic's identity as a person who not only thinks about virtue, but acts upon it, bridging philosophy and day-to-day life. In short, Stoicism is not a philosophy of solitary hermits, but an invitation to be a constructive participant in human society. It merges self-improvement with moral responsibility and connects personal goals with communal well-being. By applying Stoic teachings to how you relate to others, you raise not only your own standard of living, but also contribute to a broader culture of empathy, fairness, and ethical awareness. The pursuit of meaning is as old as humanity itself. While some people seek transcendence through religion, others explore existential philosophies or creative outlets. Stoicism offers an approach that is simultaneously grounded in daily realities and elevated by a timeless ethical framework. By embedding meaning in virtue, Stoics ensure that even mundane activities like doing the dishes, commuting, or conversing with colleagues can contribute to a larger tapestry of purposeful living. It's not that each moment must be dramatic or life-changing, but that each can be imbued with care, attention, and moral insight. This sense of meaning also acts as a motivational engine. Humans crave a sense of direction. When our goals and our values are unaligned, we experience a gnawing sense of emptiness or dissatisfaction. The daily practice of Stoicism resolves this tension by encouraging us to anchor goals in virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance that inherently offer self-respect and social harmony. When your objectives, big or small, align with these virtues, you feel an internal congruence. You're not just doing something because society expects it or because you'll gain external rewards. You're doing it because it reflects who you wish to be. Moreover, the idea of turning challenges into opportunities, which we have discussed, imbues even life's difficulties with a sense of purpose. Every setback can be reframed as a lesson in emotional control, problem-solving, or empathy. Even if a particular endeavor fails, such as a business venture or a personal project, the knowledge gained and the personal strength developed remain. Epictetus would see this as the very fabric of growth. Each challenge helps refine who you are, adding a layer of resilience or insight for the future. Then there is the deeply reflective stance Stoics take toward mortality. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself that life is brief and unpredictable. This awareness, rather than spurring nihilism or panic, propelled him to make each day count, to avoid squandering time on pettiness and distractions. A similar vantage point in your own life can sharpen your priorities. When you recognize that your days are finite, you no longer want to waste them in ways that don't further your development or serve the people around you. This is where the synergy between simplicity and purposeful action becomes most potent. You clear out the insignificant to make room for what truly matters, and what truly matters is determined by whether it aligns with virtue. In effect, Stoicism teaches that meaning is not something passively discovered, but actively created through how you choose to live. Each decision, from the grand to the seemingly trivial, contributes to your personal narrative. If you consistently make decisions based on virtue, discipline, and resilience, your life story gradually takes on the shape of a meaningful journey rather than a random collection of events. This perspective allows you to greet each day with an eagerness to face its lessons, setbacks, and triumphs. In short, Stoicism provides a robust framework for infusing ordinary life with extraordinary purpose. As we close this extensive exploration of 7 Stoic lessons, self-discipline, overcoming procrastination, forming positive habits, transforming challenges, starting small, anchoring yourself in virtue, and embracing a simpler life. It's fitting to acknowledge that these teachings form more than a manual for self-help. They compose a way of life grounded in enduring human truths. Each lesson converges in practice. Daily decisions, emotional responses, habits, both newly formed and entrenched, and the overarching sense of purpose that ties them all together. Whether you are a newcomer to Stoicism or have dabbled in its texts for years, the path it offers is one of ongoing refinement rather than a quick fix. The Stoics did not sugarcoat the realities of life. They acknowledged suffering, acknowledged that people could be cruel or ignorant, and recognized that misfortune could strike at any time. Yet, within this realistic portrait of life, they carved out a philosophy brimming with hope and empowerment. Marcus Aurelius, writing as an emperor burdened with political and military crises, consistently returned to the idea that human beings possess an inviolable inner realm, a space of consciousness where we can choose how to frame our experiences. That power, that capacity for reason and moral choice, stands at the core of what the Stoics believed makes us distinctively human. When you put these lessons into action, you join a lineage of thinkers, leaders, and everyday individuals who have drawn on Stoic wisdom for centuries. You're likely to discover that the hardest part is often the beginning, forging new habits, disciplining the mind to avoid procrastination, or stepping outside your comfort zone to see adversity differently. But as you sustain the effort, you build a virtuous cycle. You notice small improvements, a calmer reaction to stress here, a better managed schedule there, and these encourage further commitment. Each success, no matter how minor, becomes proof that Stoic principles can be lived. Moreover, this transformation does not happen in isolation. Friends, family, and co-workers may see you becoming less reactive, more compassionate, or more thoughtful in decision-making. Even if they never learn the intricacies of Stoicism, they may be influenced by your example. You may find that your conversations become deeper, your relationships more authentic, and your sense of social responsibility heightened. The Stoic path is not solitary, because part of living justly involves contributing positively to one's community. In doing so, you reflect the Stoic belief that the individual good is inextricably tied to the common good. Finally, remember that Stoicism is an active dialogue, both within yourself and with the world around you. Keep questioning. Are your actions aligned with your professed values? Are you applying the principle of focusing on what you can control in all areas of your life? Are you simplifying enough to see what truly matters? By persisting in this inquiry, you never stagnate. Instead, you emulate the Stoic masters who treated life as a laboratory for moral and psychological development. Accept setbacks with open eyes, regard each new day as a training ground, and hold fast to the virtues that guide you toward integrity and wisdom. In sum, the invitation remains open. Take these lessons founded on ancient insights, validated by centuries of practice, and make them your own. Let them guide you toward a life of purposeful action, resilience in hardship, and inner tranquility. Should you find value in these concepts, share them generously. In doing so, you perpetuate the Stoic tradition, turning timeless philosophy into living practice and forging a personal ethos that resonates with depth focus and ethical commitment. This is Stoicism at its finest, not a relic of antiquity, but a vibrant companion for those seeking to live fully and well in a world brimming with both hazards and hopes. So there, you have its 7 powerful Stoic lessons to help you reclaim your drive. Find clarity amidst chaos and live with purpose and resilience. Life isn't always predictable, but as we've seen, your response to it can be. Whether it's overcoming procrastination, cultivating meaningful habits, or simplifying to amplify your happiness. These timeless truths offer a practical, no-nonsense roadmap toward personal fulfillment and lasting success. Now it's your turn. Have these principles sparked a fire within you? Which lesson resonated the most or challenged your perspective? Share your thoughts, personal breakthroughs, or even your doubts in the comments below. Let's start a conversation. Your insights could inspire someone else's journey too. And remember to subscribe for more powerful, life-enhancing content. Thank you for joining us, and here's to embracing wisdom, clarity, and purpose, one mindful step at a time.